Hello peeps, so today I'm going to be reviewing and talking about The Fly by IDW. It's a comic book. It's called The Fly Outbreak, specifically. Here's the cover. This is apparently the store cover. Like if you go to the comic book store and buy the comic, this is what it's going to look like. Apparently they have a subscription variant cover for subscribers. And you can see it. They kind of have retained the logo from the original movies. Well, not the original movies, but the movies that were made in the 1980s, which were actually a remake of a movie from the 1950s. I think I might actually check on that. The original starred Vincent Price, who's pretty awesome and provided the voice for the narrator in the Thriller, the Michael Jackson Thriller music video. Yeah, so here we are, The Fly. I'm going to go ahead and read it, put my thoughts together, and then I will come back. This takes place after The Fly Part 2, after that movie, and it's about the son of Jeff Goldblum's character in the original Fly from the 80s. There's three characters in it. Martin, who is the scientist, the son of Jeff Goldblum's character, who's working on trying to cure the fly disease infestation, the transgenic disease. There's Beth, who is his wife, and there's Nolani, who is some kind of colleague of Martin's, perhaps a fellow scientist. So the premise here is that Jeff Goldblum's character went into a transporter pod with a fly, and some genes got flipped around, and Jeff Goldblum's character then had some fly genes that started to manifest themselves, and he started to slowly turn into a fly. Ooh, creepy. Really awesome movie. I highly recommend it. It's a David Cronenberg movie. It's awesome. One of the... Let's see here. Let me just start into it. So one of the interesting things is that this comic book takes place over roughly a week, and I didn't notice that until I read it the second time. It makes it kind of weird because it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure if I really like that. It's not obvious and blunt, and the way things are set up, it's just like they're talking. It's just kind of odd. And anyway. So the setup is that he is quarantined on an island off New York City, and he's talking to his wife on the computer. This is the opening panel right here. He's talking to his wife on the computer there. And he's not supposed to be talking to her. No interruptions. No communication. Or he's not supposed to be communicating with the outside world. Next scene, we have, this is him in the cafeteria of the hospital, which is a pretty cool panel. I like it. He's like the only thing in focus. That's a pretty cool, powerful panel. And then here's Nolani, and she's like she's got the only color, which is pretty neat. Kind of draws attention to her, I guess. And so basically they sit down and are eating, and he describes the symptoms and the progression of the transformation into a fly. We have some other scenes. So while he's describing this, while he's describing the change, it skips ahead to other days, which are supposed to illustrate the changes. So there's quarantine day 12, quarantine day 13, all at the same time as he's actually talking to her on day 9, which is slightly confusing. You think? I mean, if I didn't see that originally, I thought it was all happening at the same time. So there's some sexy sex. And then here's where he's like, oh, well, you know. So I guess this is after Nolani and he have been talking. And this guard, so this is like days later, and I thought she was still in the cafeteria. I thought they were both still in the cafeteria when I first read this, but they're not. So this guard here like picks up a table and starts to throw it. So you're like, okay, he's got the fly disease. They shoot him with a taser. He's talking about how they. So he's still talking. It's very confusing. Anyway. And then we flash to he's talking with his wife. Oh, I did want to point out the colors over here. There's a lot of blues and dark reds, and I kind of figured that I kind of thought that the artist might be influenced by Geiger a little bit because of those colors. So here we are back to him talking with his wife. And then, and check out this David Cronenberg inspired sex toy, okay? Oh yeah. So they're like trying to be intimate, do some little telesex, whatever, okay? And then Nolani comes in, and apparently she's been bitten, she's got the fly disease, because she's like, hey, let's do it. And then she starts to like, she's like, oh, and he refuses, and he's like, no, I'm married. And she's like, you never pay attention to me. You never notice me. And then she throws him against the pod, and then she like does this pose, which I don't like this pose. I've never seen anybody do this pose. Why would you run forward with your arms behind you? Like, they don't even do that in Kung Fu movies, right? So anyway, he zaps her, she gets knocked out. Okay, we're up to day 17 here. Martin is talking with his wife again and saying, honey, you know, I really love you, but I gotta focus on my work and I really just need to cut off contact with you. And so it closes out with there's something that we don't know about Beth. And I don't think he knows either. Martin doesn't know either. So presumably she's going to do something and all hell is going to break loose. So that's kind of exciting. So the art in this, like did I talk about that? Yeah. Oh, there's, yep. Okay. So it's got a real science fiction feel, which I like, but the characters seem kind of flat. And the art kind of helps with that, and maybe they were going for that a little bit. The facial expressions are pretty flat, you know, like that. But I mean, even when there's a smile, it's almost like kind of. And like I said, there's just very little the postures and everything are all very static and grounded. You know, there's not a lot of action postures, not a lot of motion. And you can compare this with, like, here's a panel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and you can really see the action poses, and where's the swoosh? There's a swooshing, you know, an indicator, so it indicates motion. There's very little humor. There's no humor at all. There's no jokes, which is okay. The other really actually interesting thing about this is that right on the second page he talks about how he needs no interruptions, 0 visitors, and that's not really how science works. This is Martin. He's a scientist. He's looking for a cure, right? You don't look for cures in complete isolation. That's silly. No scientist does that. Science is all about collaboration and communication with other scientists and talking about theories and breakthroughs and things like that. And you don't get breakthroughs and stuff like that without. So any scientist worth his or her salt would see right through that excuse. Seriously, what? What are you hiding? So yeah, that's my little review. Hopefully I can cut this down to under 10 minutes. Alright, thanks for watching. Ciao.